I had a recent conversation with a contract manufacturer. That contract manufacturer was explaining their process, how much better their process is, how they're adding all this value for clients and customers. And it dawned on me that the reality is most of us better understand our process than anybody else. But most of our consumers are not actually in our business. So it's very difficult for them to know what questions to ask. There is no industry that this is more prevalent in than financial advisors and investment management. That's why today I'm going to break down the top questions you should ask a financial advisor if you're going to hire them. My name is Luke Turner, co founder of Moment Private Wealth. We help athletes and entrepreneurs get smarter with their money. Let's dive in. So, you're looking at potentially hiring a financial advisor. What questions should you be asking? This is the total guide and all the questions you need to know. Today, we're going to look at are the top 5 questions that you need to ask any financial advisor that you are potentially going to hire. Question number 1, are you a fiduciary? So this fiduciary word gets thrown out all the time, but it's a great question to ask, but there does need to be some understanding and potentially some follow-up. So first, let's start with the definition. What is a fiduciary? A fiduciary, all that means is we're legally obligated to sit on the same side of the table as our client and make sure that we are making agnostic decisions. The second level deeper to this question that we need to ask is somebody always acting as a fiduciary? Unfortunately, in our industry, things are very confusing. It's very opaque. It's very hard to know how truthful answers are. And for most advisors out in the marketplace, they don't always have to act as fiduciaries. Rather, they can put their fiduciary hat on, they can take their fiduciary hat off. And the key here is making sure that any financial advisor that you hire, I would recommend that they are in a position where they are always obligated to act as a fiduciary in your best interest. Number 2, how do they choose the products and services? So I like to think about this as the triangulation of advice. And it really is, how is the advice actually being given to the clients? And when we think about the triangulation of advice, there's really 3 different components to it. There is the products and services being offered. There is the custodian that actually holds the assets. And then there's the actual advice that's being given by the advisor. And when we think about these, we want to make sure that there's separation of each one of these. The reason being is that we want to make sure that those products and services are not being offered because there's some sort of benefit to the advisor. For example, for many advisors out there in the marketplace, they're in a position where if they sell a certain number of X fund or they specifically need to sell more of X product, that is going to compensate them at a higher rate. Now, one thing to be very transparent about here is that doesn't mean that that money's coming out of your pocket. But what it does mean is that you might be getting an 8 out of 10 product when you could be getting a 10 out of 10 product simply because the advisor is going to be compensated differently based on the products and services that are being offered. So the question that I would ask is there any additional benefit for you selling different products and services to me? The third question that we need to ask is, are there any conflicts of interest? Again, something that is a basic question, but many people glaze over it and forget to ask. We want to make sure that if there are any conflicts of interest that separate you and the advisor and them being potentially compensated in different ways, that those conflicts of interest are going to be talked about and shared with you. Again, having a conflict of interest isn't necessarily always a bad thing, but something you want to be very aware of going into that relationship. So that way, anything that's being said, you can go in eyes wide open with it. Number 4, do they have a niche? The easiest way to know if somebody has a niche is to go to their website, type in their URL, and see what is on the front page of that website. For example, if you go to momentprivatewealth.com, right here in big white letters, you're going to see financial advisors for pro athletes and high growth entrepreneurs. It's very clear that 99% of people should not reach out to us and we're not a good fit for. And that is okay. But what is not okay is you going and working with a firm that doesn't specialize in you. One thing that I recommend anybody who's looking to hire an advisor, even people that come and talk to us, this is a question that I always want to get asked because I'm so passionate to make sure that people are getting the help that they need in specialized ways. The reality is, most advisors are generalists, so make sure that you find a specialist that can help you with your specific pain points. Fifth and final question you need to ask is, what does their average client look like, and how many clients are they working with per advisor? These are two really key metrics to better understanding not only do they have a niche, but are those clients looking very similar to you? Because again, you want somebody who is working every day in and out with people just like you. So, for example, for Moment Private Wealth, our average net worth of clients is just north of $10 million. And our average client to advisor ratio is 30 to 1, meaning 30 clients for every one advisor. And what I would tell you is industry averages, you're typically going to see that net worth number around a $250,000 range. And you're oftentimes going to see that client to advisor ratio north of 100, 200 clients. And that can be okay for many people who need one touch point a year or two touch points a year. But for business owners and entrepreneurs and athletes that need things on a regular basis from a tax planning, estate planning, investment management, cash flow planning perspective, it's a key to make sure that you know whoever you're hiring, you are going to be an important client for them, and they are going to give you the time and attention that you need. So, next time you are out potentially looking at hiring a financial advisor, make sure you ask those 5 questions.